In some previous videos, I have looked at Android apps that read a raw file, a text file that is considered a raw resource. And at one time we read the entire thing at once, and another time we read it one line at a time. And this is going to be a bit of a compromise. We're going to read in one statement, we're going to read all of the text, but we're going to read it sort of into an array where each element of the array corresponds to a line of text. So we're respecting the lines, but not doing it one at a time. The code for this app can be found at the URL seen. Okay, so here's what the app looks like in the AVD. So there'll be some text view that says pick a dog, and then a spinner with dogs, and then an image view to show the picture of the dog and some information about the dogs. And this information is going to be contained in a raw text file. So let's look at the activity_main XML, and that should just be what we just saw. So a text view, a spinner, text view, spinner, image view, and then some text for the height, TV dog height, and then TV dog color, TV dog characteristic car. And so there are the characteristics, the colors, the average height. So some information about the dogs, which is going to be contained in a raw file. So that's the layout resource. Here is the raw resource, a slash delimited text file. When you start a hello world, you do not have this raw folder. You have to make it by saying, right-clicking and saying new directory and calling it raw. Make sure you use small letters, and then take your file wherever you have it on your file system, copy it, and then right-click and paste it in here. And that will sort of register it as a resource. And you want to obey the naming scheme of small letters, underscores, and numbers. Don't start with numbers. You can have a file extension. The file extension will not be part of the resource name. Okay, so those are our resources. Oh, and we have, of course, pictures of dogs in the drawable. So the drawable folder was there at the start, but I have sort of elsewhere in the system found my pictures of dogs, copied them, and right-clicked and paste them into drawable. It will make up its mind whether it's, so in here, it looks like it's one drawable folder, but if I find it in my file system, C drive, users, Blum, Android Studio projects, this one is read lines, app, source, main, resources. It makes like two drawable folders out in the real file system, but here there'll just be a one drawable resource folder. That's what it will look like in Android Studio. Okay, so those are my resources. Now let's go to my code, main activity. And again, we're going to read the file, sort of read it all in one statement, not in a loop, just one statement, reads the file, and that sort of makes a list of the lines of the file. Here is us connecting the interface to the code versions of the spinner, the image view, text view, text view, text view. Here is us using the raw resource dog_data and setting up an input stream by opening the raw resource. We are turning that into using this buffered reader method to turn it into a buffered reader, and then that can handle lines. And we used this previously when we read one line at a time. And previously, our method we used was read line, and we did that in not in a loop, but in a sort of a user iteration. Sort of every time they click the button, we would read one line. But here now it's read lines with an S. And so we are reading all the lines, but respecting the sort of line delimitation and creating this list of strings. And those strings have all the information about a dog. So here's one element of that string. Here's another element of that string. And I want in my spinner just to have the names of the dog. So I make another list, which is a simpler list of just dog names. And I'm looping through my array of lines, and I am taking an item from that list and splitting it on my backslash delimiter, or not backslash, slash delimiter, getting an array of tokens and just taking the first token, which was the name of the breed of the dog, and adding it to this list. And then that's what I have to work with my spinner. So I'm setting up an array adapter from a code array, the code array I just made of dog names. And that makes my array adapter. And then I use my array adapter to populate my spinner. Next, I will have the spinner event, the on item selected listener. So I have the on item selected. I also have the on nothing selected, in which I'm going to do nothing. But when they select an item, when I do a drop down, I have access to a view where is what you see, the name of the dog, border collie, and then I also have access to the sort of position in the array or list that made the spinner and populated the spinner. So those are the two arguments coming in, the view and the I, the position. So I'm using here just the view. I'm specifically casting it as a text view and then using its text and converting it to a string and just putting that in a toast. So I'm showing the names of the dogs. I am using the I to take the ith element of my lines array and splitting it once again. So I split it up there just to get out the dog's name. Now I'm pulling a particular element of the lines array, the ith element, and I'm splitting it because this is the current dog that I want the information for. The first name, token 0, the first token, when I use the delimiter slash to break it up into a number of things, the 0th one, the first thing, is the name of the dog. And I want to turn that into a drawable resource name. So I put it in lowercase. So I'm sort of, I think previously I probably did these on separate lines. Now I'm sort of chaining them together. So I put it in lowercase and I replaced the space with underscores, and that made the name of the drawable resource. So hence the name drawable resource name. Then I'm going to get the ID from the name. So I'm using resources get identifier. I'm going to put in the name, look for it among the drawable things within the package, and get from that the ID. And then when I have the ID of the drawable resource, then I can use it to set the image resource of the image view. And then I have the other tokens that I got from splitting. In index 1, the second one gave me the height of the dog. Tokens 2 was the color of the dog. Tokens 3 was the character of the dog. And then that's all I want to show you. There I am at the bottom of the file. So again, reading lines instead of one line at a time, or instead of the whole file at a time, reading the lines and making an array out of it, or a list out of it.